SDR versus HDR, a scam nobody knows, and today we are doing episode 3 in this long-going series to investigate whether or not HDR does exactly what it says it's going to do. So today, as voted in by you the people, we're going to be doing Uncharted 4. Now, to do this, I'm going to be in the Cinema Home, and you're going to see here in Cinema Home as I open up my settings here, no HDR selected just yet. So everything you're about to see is SDR. So I'm gonna go in a story here and let's go into I wonder if I could just load a chapter. And that would be so much easier than just starting all over again, you know what I mean? What do you say we do the prologue? Let's just start over and just do Explorer. And let's see if we can't find something, right? Something great, something wrong. Let's do new game data, because I want to make a new save so I don't have to keep doing this 1,000,001 times. Right? Right. All right, so the idea here, what we're going to be looking for, we're going to be looking for color, we're going to be looking for the same kind of high dynamic range that we would find in HDR. Hopefully we find that. If we don't, kind of tough on us, right? But either way, we're going to get to the root of the problem. If you guys have more things that you would like to see, make sure that you're voting in that community tab, because that's how we're going to be getting a lot of these tests done. And a lot of the results are pretty much just you vote for it and I test it out. And that's kind of how we're going to go from this point forward, just to ensure that it's fair and everybody kind of gets what they're looking for, you know what I mean? I am a man of fortune and I must seek my fortune. Henry Avery. 1694. What do we got? All right, so we're loading up, and the first thing we see are the water droplets. The water droplets look pretty good so far, not gonna lie, can't complain. As Nathan Drake comes into focus here, you see detail in his hair. He looks incredible. I mean, good God, looks absolutely freaking amazing, right? This is my first time, by the way, seeing Uncharted 4 on this TV period. I haven't actually played this game in a very long time. So yeah, Nathan Drake looking very incredible. The water as it's flying around, as he's on this boat, man, absolutely insane. You see all the detail in the background, the water kicking up from the back of the boat. Sam's whipping out his gat, getting ready to handle business. As you know, you accelerate, the lightning effects are just absolutely incredible. I mean, look at this scene. This is a ballet, right? This is the kind of thing that you would use to, again, showcase what PlayStation is all about. If you were, you know, that kind of thing. And it's just demo content in general. This is just incredible, right? Like, it looks really freaking sick. So as we're racing and running for our lives here, the lightning popping off is really what grabs my attention. The detail on the floor on the boat looking very good. As we try to swing around and get a look at the ocean, you see a lot of the water kicking up as well. That looks really, really sick. I mean, it's just a really good looking image. I don't have any complaints so far. I do hope they go into something a little bit more scenic here, as this isn't exactly the most scenic thing I've ever seen, but it is doing okay for what it's worth. But the lightning popping off is really what's getting me, man. Like that right there is just looking incredible. So now we get hit. All hell's breaking loose. As the bombs or flares, I say bombs, but as the flares hit the water, you can see the water illuminate like perfectly. It's like so blue, so beautiful. It's just incredible. And it's a sight to see. So I crashed the boat. I've got these goons coming after me. Oh, we're in the water now. Look at us go. Okay, so now we're gonna hold to ascend. I mean, just looking at this whole thing, this looks incredible. My goodness gracious me, oh my. Like all of the colors right now. I can't say I have a negative thing to say about any of this. Oh, avoid the propellers, buddy. Oh, that was almost your life right there. We're gonna go back up to the top here, and as we can see, it just looks good. I mean, damn, this is just so pretty, right? Like, the scene, a little dark, but I feel like that's kind of what they were going for. Not exactly sure, but we're gonna try to, I don't know, are we supposed to be shooting at these people? I guess so. So let's just take them out real quick, you know, real quick, battery low. I don't ever charge my PS4 controller. I rarely play it these days. I've been on PC a whole lot. Right? They're popping off the flare. The bombs are going off of me. And look at the fire on that. It's incredible, dude. Like, absolutely incredible. So I'm reloading now. But so far, this is a wonderful experience. Like, I haven't ever done this on this particular display, and I gotta say, in doing this, playing this game in SDR, I'm absolutely thrilled. So as to keep it from going on forever, I'm going to end this particular session right now, right? So that was great, and seemingly I need to charge my controller here or it will die, but we're gonna, in real time, before I do that, go into settings here, go video options, and we're gonna toggle on that HDR, so that way we see what it is. Now I'm gonna go in the back here, and I'm going to charge my controller if possible. Start without updating application, don't care. Let's see here. Got to find my charger, which I do believe is just kind of hanging around, but I'm not entirely sure. Alright, trying to pull this up. I have no idea where my charger is. Bear with me. This is all real time. Didn't plan on my PlayStation controllers needing to be charged. So now you get to hear me fumble around in the back. Yay, fumbling around in the back. Though, truth be told, it's loading up anyway, so it's not a big deal. Alright. And can I get power? Yes. Alright. We finally got power. I'm on a little bit of a limited leash, but we got what we needed. Now I'm going to get my remote here, and we're going to open this back up. Now we're going to confirm that we're in HDR. As you see, in the top right-hand corner, we are in HDR. So that's going to mean that we are going to be good to go to show you guys what this looks like. So I'm going to click any button. I'm going to go to story. I'm just going to say I want to select a chapter again. We're going to do that same prologue. And I feel like I messed something up. If I load the chapter and I go to prologue, you're still going to ask me? Whatever. It doesn't matter. We're just going to load it up. And we're going to see if we can't see a lot of the same things that we were seeing before. And we're just going to override Game Save 2. So that way we're good to go. Yeah, I want to override it. Now, we're going to try to look for, again, some of the same things. We're going to try to look for that vibrancy in that water. That's a big one that I'll be looking for. We're going to try to look for detail in Nathan Drake's face. The water droplets as it was surrounding the environment, as it was flying off the back of the boat. The water kicking up, the overall color representation. The really, really rich orange from the explosions as we were getting shot at by those sea pirates or whatever they were. What other kind of pirate is there, I don't know. But either way, you guys get what I'm saying. So we're going to let this little monologue thing open up. Not really a monologue, more like just a little quote here. But either way, it's an organic process, not always the most exciting of things, but it is a good way to test SDR and HDR and see which representation's kind of better. Now I'm using this darker scene because a lot of the information can usually be crushed in darker scenes like this. So as the boat comes in, we are seeing a lot of lightning now that was not present before. At least I didn't notice it that prominently, which I think that's absolutely incredible. As we get to Nathan Drake's face, his face is missing a lot in the way of color, actually, like a lot in the way of color, but still looks very detailed. Now the water is the one thing that is even more pronounced. I'm noticing even like in the front ends of the boat, I saw more water than I did in SDR. And also, you still see the same water kicking up from the back of the boat, so that's really good that that's there. Though inside the main, I guess, cabin here on the boat, you just don't really have that same level of vibrancy that you would expect. Albeit the lightning, though, that lightning is impressive. And it really is making this scene so much more dramatic as you see it pop off around you. We can actually see the mountains better now too, which I couldn't see as well in HDR, or rather SDR. So the dynamic range definitely seems to be holding up here a lot better than one would actually expect it to. Albeit the color, again, not, you know, it's not holding its own with the SDR color, but the details are definitely a lot better from this particular scene right here as we're kind of just riding our boats along here and trying to find our way along. And I gotta say, looking at the water, you see some shades of blue in the water, but it's not as pronounced as I would like. It definitely doesn't look anything like it was looking before, so that's kind of a negative because I would have expected them to do a lot better than they're doing right now, and that's just not the case. Now as we get hit here, this whole scene, we got Yeah, that's not impressive. That's not really impressive. As the flares hit the water, the brightness, not as impressive. That tightness of the highlight on the flare, the small highlights are, but the overall look to the water isn't as impactful as it was in SDR. So that's definitely something there. But we kind of know that going into it. The color's going to be the big benefit here. Now, as this boat's approaching, all that looks pretty trash right there. I'm not really a fan of that. But I do like the detail, so I guess I'll take it for the most part for what it's worth. Not doing too terribly. We're going back up to the top. We see Sam here. And overall, so far for this particular scene, it's looking about the same. I don't have a problem with the representation. I think it looks really good. Really good in the sense that I see a lot of detail. Now from a color standpoint, I don't think I'm going to be seeing the same levels of color. I just think that's wishful thinking to believe that I would be seeing that, but unfortunately I don't think I'm going to be getting that. The flares popping off are impressive. Let's see if we can't see more with the fire. The fire looks good. You see a lot of detail in the fire, but it's not as vivid or anywhere close to as vibrant, and that scene nowhere near as immersive as it was. So that's one of the downsides, most definitely. So not really looking so great, but overall it's kind of like the same thing that we've been seeing in the last episodes, where it's basically like you get the benefit of detail, but they're taking away the color, and I can't help but think that that's the wrong move here, as we're looking forward to a whole nother level of color. And one would imagine that if you're looking forward to a whole nother level of color, you would actually deliver on that front. And it just kind of feels like that's not really happening here. So as we're taking all kinds of hellfire from these guys, we're making our way to this mountain and trying not to hit any rocks. I say mountain, but I really mean the shore. Giving it a lot more airtime in HDR than in SDR, so it's probably at this point not really that much of a comparison. But ultimately speaking, it does look pretty decent, and I can't say it's terrible. The HDR representation in this game is definitely a lot better than I've seen in a lot of other games. So I think that's a really good thing to note here, and I think that's a positive. So what we're going to do now, to make it fair, we've got Nathan Drake just sitting here. We're going to let this scene play out, and then I'm going to compare this exact scene in SDR to see if there are any real differences. So far, the lighting looks really good on Nathan Drake. Shadows are being casted perfectly in his hair, on the headboard or the footboard, on the covers. Everything really just looks good. The black eye on Nathan Drake coming through very, very clean. The God rays coming through from the window, again, just looking really good. The ambient lighting the environment, all of that looking very, very good here. Now, as we see the nun walk away, you still have a lot of information in the overall scene, but the one thing is the color is a bit muted and flat by comparison. And that's one of the parts that I can't get behind. You know, for a high dynamic range, it's like we've got to do something better with this color. But I will say, if you were playing this game in HDR, I could definitely see you having a fun experience, because the overall image is acceptable. And I would even say this is decent HDR, because it's not good until they start giving us what we asked for. But the dynamic range definitely appears to be there. You are seeing more detail in lightning. You're seeing more detail in character models as far as the hair, as light hits the subject. The ambient lighting from the room on the back of his hair, illuminating the little hairs, like little end pieces of his hair. I mean, it's just so very detailed with what they are achieving here with this particular adoption of the HDR implementation, proving that even though Uncharted 4, not really a newer game, they're definitely still doing something decent for picture quality. And I can't help but think that that will go a long way, and maybe even future titles as Sony starts to figure out more implementations of HDR. But overall, this did look really decent. I'm almost pressed to say even good. But now we're gonna see that same scene in SDR and see if it doesn't just improve. All right, so what I'm gonna do now, as you guys know, we're gonna go up and we're going to just turn off HDR. A little bit longer than I would have expected, but I want to be very thorough when I'm talking about Uncharted 4, because again, this is one of the absolute best implementations of HDR, and it's installing the update. I absolutely hate updates, by the way, guys. They're so annoying. But it looks like we're good to go, so we don't have to wait too long. All this in real time, by the way, so you can kind of see the frustration behind that. And can I just say, these faces look so damn real. I mean, I'm going to take a screenshot of that one. My God, that one looks so nice. Very realistic. I mean, just the sweat particles coming through, beautiful, absolutely glorious. But we're not here to look at that. We're here to look at what happens when you're in the actual game. And that might take a little bit to get this loaded up here. All right, so now we're back in SDR. What we're gonna do is go into chapters, and we're gonna go into part 1, lure, and we should be able to just overwrite the first one. So we should be good to go there. Just waiting for it to load up here. Overwrite that. Bada bing, bada boom, and let's get this show on the road. What do you say? All right, now let's see if we can't see some differences, right? Loading up, loading up. Come on, anytime today. Oh, and you hit me with 50% loaded. Brutal load times. But so far, I've got to say though, I am enjoying the HDR version of this game. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. I'm not saying like it's terrible. I think it's decent. But that HDR ain't touching this SDR though, and that was quickly realized the moment I seen the color coming through, because it's that color coming through in the scene that really is making the difference, because black levels are on point. And that's the first thing I'm noticing. The black levels look really, really solid, and the colors are looking really, really solid. You have more of the natural warm light that would come through from a lamp and a room source, and it's just looking so much better. Like, they're talking about 1 billion shades of color, whole new world of color, and I'm just not seeing it in HDR, but I did see that detail though. The detail is there in HDR on this game, so I gotta give them that. That was there. And honestly, it's not that big of a difference, and nowhere near as much as I was expecting coming from HDR to SDR from a detail perspective from these two games. In fact, I think from a detail side of things, actually HDR did deliver, and it had a lot more detail in this particular game, and it came very, very, very close to representing what I saw in SDR, albeit it did fall short with colors yet again. I haven't actually seen very many HDR games hold their own, you know, like as far as keeping it through and through with the color. But the detail is there. And I would say if you're playing this game from an SDR or HDR perspective, it really kind of at that point would come down to preference, because they are so very close to each other. I mean, I didn't see as much as of the illumination of the end pieces of the hair in that one scene there, but I'm now seeing the light flashing more outside of his brother signaling him. So I see that a lot more in SDR, where on HDR that was not as noticeable. So and also the lanterns, the overall glow of the scene, it just looks so much better now. So overall, I do prefer the SDR version of this game, but I would love to hear what you guys thought in the comment section down below. Did you think that the HDR version was maybe better? And if so, why? And also, if you want me to do more extensive research on this game, just let me know and we'll knock it out, and also on other TVs if you guys want to see. That being said, I want to thank you for watching the #1 brand in honesty. Make sure you vote in that poll when I put it up so that you guys get what you're looking for and we can test this HDR stuff out. But so far, I would give Uncharted 4, I would give it a pass. I think even though it's not as colorful, it is a decent implementation of HDR, and I think this is one of the few games that really does look very good in HDR, especially with that opening scene with the lightning cracking all around. Top-notch stuff. I did like it. I enjoyed it, and I feel like if you could just ramp up the color even more than 65 and not be offended by that, I think you would enjoy it probably a little better than that. So I want to thank you guys again for watching #1 brand in honesty, and until the next video, I'll see you guys later.